Hi and welcome to your introduction to SafePlus. I'm Zane Yates and today I'm here with Malcolm McMillian from WorkSafe. G'day Malcolm.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about all the things you need to know around SafePlus, its evolution and how it got to you being here today, I guess, right?
Correct.
So let's get into it straight away. So what is SafePlus?
Yeah, so great question, Zane. First, I think it's fundamentally two things, and perhaps for the first time in New Zealand, it's a nationally consistent, authoritative, kind of credible, trusted definition of what good health and safety looks like. And when I use that term good, I mean best practice health and safety beyond minimum legal compliance. Businesses have been kind of asking for a consistent approach and definition of that, so we think we can deliver that. And then secondly, it's a performance improvement tool. So it's a product that can help businesses to help themselves identify their strengths and weaknesses and support them to make the changes necessary and support their continuous improvement activities and go on a journey towards excellence in health and safety.
Great. So it sounds like this is a progress for New Zealand really in relation to good.
Correct. Yep.
So if we're talking about what good is, then can you give me a bit of an example of what SafePlus isn't intended to do? Just because sometimes that helps clarify things as well.
Yeah, so what I think SafePlus is it's not a traditional compliance audit scheme or service or product.
Right.
It takes a different type of assessment approach, and it's a behavioural, evaluative and deliberately quite consultative and advisory assessment approach, and that's quite different to a traditional compliance audit.
Sounds different.
Documented manuals and policies and procedures have their place, don't get me wrong, but that's not the primary focus of SafePlus. The assessors, not literally, but walking past those manuals on the shelf and getting to the front line and talking to people, and focusing on the people in the business. So what are the behaviours, what are the attitudes, what are the perceptions, what's the culture, what are the values around health and safety, and focusing on all those human factor issues.
Okay, so you're talking about lifting performance there, and that it's not about audits and manuals and all that kind of things. But so how did you start developing this tool?
Yeah, so it's had a really long gestation period. It goes way back. If we go back in history, there was the Pike River disaster. Then there was a Royal Commission of Inquiry into that.
Yes.
That identified that we had some failings in the whole health and safety system in New Zealand. There was a independent task force appointed by the government of the day to look into that. Yep. And they made a number of recommendations that are effectively the genesis of SafePlus today. They said we should have a performance improvement initiative that can help businesses, that goes beyond compliance. So government had some health and safety reforms and some recommendations to kind of go away and design and test and come back with some advice around what could something be in this space. So WorkSafe, ACC and the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment were tasked with designing and developing what we now have today as SafePlus, and we've spent a number of years kind of working with industry to do that. It's been genuinely quite a collaborative approach. We've worked, set up expert advisory groups and industry reference groups and had business and worker representatives and designed and tested this stuff over a number of years.
Okay, so it sounds like this isn't something that's not a flash in the pan. It hasn't happened overnight.
No, it's
one of the things you mentioned there was that you've worked with industry. And what did you learn as you tested it? You said testing. Well, did you learn anything? And if so, what's that changed?
Yeah, so we ran a big pilot back in late 2015 through the middle of 2016.
Yes.
95 businesses participated in that across 7 different sectors. So construction, agriculture, transport, forestry. The list goes on. Quite a few sectors to give this a really good road test and see if it was going to work. And we were piloting and kind of testing the effectiveness of the SafePlus tool, its relevance and currency in a New Zealand market, because we'd done a lot of international research around what makes up good, but we wanted to test it on the New Zealand market and make sure it was kind of appropriate. Value for money, is this something that businesses would value and be prepared to pay for? And its kind of effectiveness, could this make a difference? So there were learnings out of that pilot. Businesses kind of fundamentally kind of came back and said, yeah, we like this. It's different to a traditional audit approach. We like that it's behavioural in its assessment approach and that you're looking at the human factors that we talked about. They did value it and they said, yeah, we'd actually be prepared to pay for this in future. So we thought that was good.
That's kind of useful,
biggest measure of success, perhaps. They liked that it engaged with workers and that workers were involved in it. It was very worker friendly, and that their workers felt the experience. So it wasn't sort of something that sat away in an office, reading through manuals, and or that just engaged with senior managers. Workers are involved in the SafePlus experience, and businesses like that. They felt it was a really good worker engagement exercise, so it enabled them to have a conversation with their workers and hear from their workers. Right. So they really liked the worker engagement aspect to it. So they like the independence. They like that it could give them some confidence about, are we doing the right things? Are we investing our health and safety dollar wisely? What should we do to improve? And that this could give them that sort of consultative and advisory factor. They cared less about the stars or the badge or the certificate on the wall.
Yes.
They wanted the how-to factor. We know we need to improve. We don't know how or where. We don't know what that would look like if we were doing it well, and we don't know where to start. So if you can bring us that how-to factor, that's the real value in SafePlus for businesses.
Just switching hats just for a moment, if I'm thinking as a business owner of those target markets, what am I going to benefit is for me? I understand there is this tool there and I can have an assessor come in and help out, but what are the real business benefits of this?
Yeah, so that all goes to the value proposition of SafePlus, I think, and that's different for different businesses. There'll be some businesses that here genuinely they want the how-to factor, they want the advice and guidance. That's the primary reason for using SafePlus and climbing into that.
Yes.
Have some independent qualified person come into our business, look at how well we're performing and where we have strengths and weaknesses, and provide us with that advice around how to improve. So that'll be, we'd like to think that's there for most businesses that use this, because that's its fundamental purpose and reason for being.
Absolutely.
As a performance improvement tool. There'll be businesses that are driven by the kind of business confidence and maybe the assurance factor. Help us fulfill our due diligence obligations as a director or board member or an executive in the business. In the same way that businesses go out and hire the independent financial institutes to get financial audits, this could be a way of having an independent perspective and look at how well are we doing. Is management taking the mickey? I want to know from someone qualified and independent, how well are we doing? So they'll want that business confidence factor. Want to know, we're doing really well here, or if we're not, we want to know about that coming from a risk management benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there'll be some businesses that want the employer of choice factor. They say we take this stuff seriously and we actually want to show our workers that we do that, and SafePlus is a very tangible way of showing workers that you're taking health and safety seriously. Workers are involved in it.
I was going to say, because they're in part of that.
They're in part of
the
it.
process. This is not in a little office somewhere.
Yep.
This is, we're talking to people.
So workers are all engaged in the SafePlus experience.
Awesome.
So they get to kind of see and feel, and that brings a bit of trust and confidence from the workers that the employer is taking this stuff seriously, cares about them and cares about their health and safety. With that comes all those sort of employer of choice benefits around staff acquisition and retention. We'd like to think that it's going to be effective at helping businesses improve their health and safety, of course. That's our primary overall objective. And with doing health and safety well, we know that health and safety, doing that well, is good for business. There's the productivity gains you can get when you're doing stuff well and you're not having the accidents or causing the harm on site. There's the avoidance of the cost of failure when things go wrong. So just doing health and safety well is good for business. So we can help you with that and some of those productivity gains.
So I can see a lot of stuff, and as a business owner, that they can look at, or in a leadership team, this is really useful. But I guess workers have to be involved with this. And what's in it for the workers? Is the same kind of level of drive there for workers?
Yeah, so there are benefits, of course, for workers, as there should be. I start at the top. This is about helping make the workplace safer and healthier.
Right.
So that's fundamentally what it's all about. If SafePlus is effective in its implementation, it will make the workplace, the factory floor, safer and less risk of harm. So that's there. Again, I think it's around some of that confidence and knowing that your employer takes this stuff seriously, and also that you're being heard and listened to, and that you're having a say in health and safety, and that you're engaging with your bosses, and that you're helping provide input into the health and safety management and approach in that business. So those benefits are there. Being heard and listened to and being cared about, I think, are some of the worker benefits.
I love the word care, because it's so important in what we do, isn't it? In making sure that is a key part of it. So I can see businesses get benefits. I can see workers get benefits from what you've said there. But why is the Crown involved in all of this? Why have you decided that this is an important place to actually, stick your oar in, so to speak?
So many will be aware that there are health and safety reforms at play, and I think the government's trying to do a couple of things here. We're trying to change the culture of health and safety in New Zealand businesses generally.
Yes.
And SafePlus is one of a number of initiatives that the government's doing around improving health and safety performance and culture around health and safety in New Zealand businesses. So this is deliberately behavioural and focusing on the people and those culture and value issues, and that's where you've got to focus if you want to change culture around health and safety. Government's got some big goals around reducing workplace harm and accidents by 25% by 2020. So this is one of a number of initiatives contributing towards that.
Yes.
And just those huge social and economic costs of when things go wrong, and the cost of poor performance around health and safety, whether it's the health system or our social system. So we're trying to just reduce all of those costs, prosperity and productivity in New Zealand by getting health and safety right. So government's got a number of kind of angles that we're coming at this from, and trying to help businesses to help themselves. It's a voluntary initiative, so it's for businesses that can see the benefits and want to use this to kind of help themselves to get there.
So with the number of initiatives that are out there, because frankly, every day something's popping up, why choose SafePlus?
I think there's a couple of reasons for that. Some of our points of difference, if you like. This is not a health and safety checking or an audit product, so this is genuinely an educative performance improvement tool. So if a business wants some help to improve in their health and safety, then have we got the product for them. Look, it's uses that behavioural and it's focused on the human factors,
yes.
And that's where we think that you can make a difference and really get some performance improvements if you're focusing on the people and what's driving some of those behaviours and practices. It's Crown endorsed. The Crown has worked hard to develop this with industry, so businesses can have some confidence and trust that it's going to be here tomorrow. It's around for a while, and
yes.
This is the Crown putting a stake in the ground and saying, actually, this is our definition of what good looks like. If you want to strive towards excellence and best practice, then we've defined that for you, and you can have some confidence around that. And so we can get that national consistency that's often missing around that.
Yes. And I guess in saying that investment, then everything you do is getting you closer towards good, whereas other initiatives perhaps might not be moving you in the same direction.
And some are focusing around that minimum compliance, and that's okay. If you're in a space where you need to, just struggling to meet minimum compliance, then maybe another product is appropriate for you, and maybe SafePlus is not yet because you're not quite at the space to be aiming for excellence. Point. So SafePlus is definitely for those that want to go on a journey towards excellence and best practice around health and safety.
Awesome. So we know a huge amount about the intent and the why and all of that kind of stuff, but how does it actually work?
Yeah, so very briefly, we've got a framework.
Yes.
10 performance requirements across 3 key areas: leadership, worker engagement, and risk management.
Yes.
And a whole bunch of performance requirements in that we can use to assess a business, their performance, but importantly, package advice and guidance around those 10 performance requirements. This is what good looks like in your business, with your agriculture, forestry, manufacturing, construction. So quite customised kind of definitions of what that stuff looks like in practice.
Right.
And then secondly, and quite importantly, I think, for SafePlus, is we've got this maturity scale built into it.
Okay.
3 levels, kept it nice and simple. We've packaged it up as developing, performing, and leading. And that's important for a couple of reasons. We can cater to businesses at different levels of maturity and performance around
yes.
health and safety. If you're beyond compliance, but maybe just, then the developing level is going to offer you a lot of advice and guidance that's pitched right for you. We're not going to have assessors giving people aspirational recommendations and best practice that's really beyond the capability or the level that a business is at. We've packaged up stuff in the developing space to help them get to the next level. And those that are at the other end of the maturity scale and performance, those that are exemplars in health
yes.
and safety, we can accommodate them in the performing level,
okay.
and we can give them the recognition that they need, and there's always room to improve, so we can give them sensible advice around how to improve in the areas that they might need to still work on. So that maturity scale is really important to give businesses the right advice and guidance back, and it's also a useful measuring stick for where are you on that journey towards excellence. Are you developing, performing, or are you leading?
Absolutely. So we've got this tool that's quite flexible. I guess the next question is, well, who's going to actually use this assessment tool in a business, and what kind of skills do they need?
So when we ran that pilot, a key learning from our pilot from businesses was that they liked this tool, they liked the approach, the assessment, they liked the advisory aspect to it.
Yes.
They said to us, and we agree, key to the success of this will be the capability of those that deliver it, and those assessors that are out there using this and providing that advice. So that's why we have this accreditation system.
Yes.
It's around, we've defined competencies that they need to have, and we go through the process of assessing those, and we train them in the tool, and it's around ensuring that we get the right people out there using this that can do those behavioural and evaluative assessments, that can engage and give, have the strong business acumen, that understand and are technical experts around health and safety.
Yes.
And I call it the Nigel ladder factor.
Yes.
That can see and understand and identify human behaviours and can dissect a practice. What's the behaviour that's behind that practice? What's the attitude that might be behind that behaviour? What's the culture or values that are at play in the organisation that are impacting on this perhaps poor practice?
It's a special type of person, isn't it, really? You've kind of named some three key factors there. But the goal, I guess, is to get to the heart of what's going on in that business, right?
Correct, yep. So the assessors are critical to the success of this. It will be a huge success based largely on the capability of those assessors and how well they deliver this.
So obviously we've got assessors here today and that are watching this. What are some of the things that you want to make sure that they are thinking about before that assessment ever takes place? In the scoping kind of phase, can we stuff it up?
Yeah, so that front-end conversation that they need to have with the business is critical to the whole experience.
Yes.
There'll be businesses of all different shapes and sizes that have different risk profiles, that have different business activities across different sites or locations. So the front-end conversation with the business is really important to identify the key risks, the critical risks that they're going to focus on.
Yes.
They work out the scope of the assessment component of this, work out whether there need to be multiple assessors, and for larger businesses we're really encouraging that the teams have more than one accredited assessor on it.
Right.
There's nothing more valuable than two sets of eyes. You bounce stuff off each other, you can cover more ground, so we encourage that. It won't always be necessary, but we do want to encourage that. There'll be times, depending on the business activity, when technical experts or subject matter experts might be needed to come in as well, whether they be a technical health and safety risk or a business risk like risk management and
Yes.
things like that. So, assessors will need to, after talking to a business, do I have the right skills and experience for this? And if I don't, how do I top those up? And have I got the right team makeup to get the coverage necessary? Assessors will need to climb into issues like sampling and how do I do that? But remembering that this is about providing advice and guidance. So they just need to get enough of a picture around the key issues and those strengths and weaknesses to provide the advice and guidance that will then probably be useful across the whole business, even though they've not seen the whole business.
So it's not saying I've got to visit every single site to give an accurate assessment, or that you're even after pinpoint accuracy here, are we?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, that's cool. So it sounds like that they've got a really important part to play in that scoping process, and it is time well spent, and I guess working with the business to make them really clearly understand that is important. This is not just give me a price and rip into it. This is, we need to scope this well.
It's about a really important conversation with the business around what is it you want out of this. What are your critical risks, and tell me about your business and the business activities you do, and it's really important to have that front-end conversation.
Yeah, so to make all of this work, this isn't just about the assessor. They've got a fabulous and a real critical role because they are the front end of this thing out there with the people building those relationships. But tell me about the process leading up to this and who else is involved.
Yeah, so in terms of the whole SafePlus system, there are a number of other parties. WorkSafe is the primary government agency that's administering this, and we're the sort of system or thought leadership role, if you like. WorkSafe's role is to ensure that this stays current and accurate in terms of the collateral and the framework and the definition of good, and maintain and update that as it needs to be, to continue to pump out resources, tools, guidance for both businesses and accredited assessors.
Yes.
So that's our kind of role. There's the accreditation process and ensuring that we have the right people who are accredited assessors and checking their competencies and reassessing those at periods of time. And then in the middle of that, we've got the training provider as well. So they're around teaching them around the tool and how to deliver the behavioural and evaluative assessments.
Yes.
So those are our kind of key roles, I think. We've got WorkSafe as the kind of thought leader, system leadership, our accreditation body, our training provider, and probably most importantly is we've got our accredited assessors, who are the delivery arm of all of this, that are out there providing the consultative and advisory services.
So while the process might feel quite rigorous to go through, and there are a number of hurdles to get past to become a accredited assessor, at the end of it, you know that you're a pretty special person actually, and that you've got the skills that can make a difference to lifting New Zealand's health and safety performance, which is really super good.
Correct.
So once they've been through that process and they've got their ticket, so to speak, are they just left on their own, set free, or is there more support, or how does it work?
Yeah, so back at WorkSafe, we've got this role of staying connected with them and providing more advice and guidance and tools and collateral as required. We're going to take the learnings and get a bit of market intelligence back from those assessors at periods of time.
Yes.
What are the trends and issues that we're seeing, and what do you need? What's working well, and what could be improved? So we want to stay connected to them. We've got a site that we're using to house material and collateral and guidance and tools and resources, and we'll grow that collection of the material. And I guess we're staying across what's good look like and best practice, and then sharing that information back with the accredited assessors. So that's our challenge, is to stay connected with them and support them to do their role really well.
Okay, so there's definitely that support there. They're not, flying blind, so to speak.
Correct.
So I've learned a lot, Malcolm. Thank you very much. And just to finish off, though, if you were to talk to me as an assessor, and just tell me what you want me to remember that's at the heart of SafePlus, what would the key things be?
I think it's really important for all assessors to remember that the fundamental value and reason for being around SafePlus is around their educative advice and guidance. So don't deliver a traditional compliance audit approach.
Yes.
Do the behavioural and evaluative assessment. Focus on the people and the people issues and some of those behaviours and culture and value issues, and provide unashamedly provide lots of advice and guidance. This is not about pass fail, tick box. It's about identifying the strengths and giving the business that feedback. Here's where you're doing really well, and here's where you could improve, and here's what improving could look like. And so give them the sensible and tailored and relevant recommendations around how to improve, and give them the advice and guidance, that's best practice guidance that we include in the toolkit around what good looks like when you're doing that. Jam pack your assessment reports with lots of advice and guidance, because that's the real value to help that business move towards excellence and continue their journey towards that.
Well, it's pretty clear that you're passionate about SafePlus and making this performance switch, I guess, from a traditional approach to a new approach. So I guess that the advisors here today have got a great opportunity to jump on board and be part of making the change to how well we do safety in New Zealand. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And have a great course, team.